Hello and welcome to episode 7 of MTG Vintage Flashback. I'm your host Mike, and this week we'll be talking about some of Urza's journeys after losing his brother Mishra, up to and including the creation of one of our prominent planeswalkers, Karn. As we went over in episode 4, the Antiquities War, Urza and Mishra's war ended with Urza activating the Sylex blast through the Golgothian Sylex, which both catastrophically damaged Dominaria and finished off Mishra. After finding out his brother had been corrupted by Yawgmoth and Gix, Urza felt great grief and responsibility for allowing their greed to come between their brotherly bond. He vowed to avenge Mishra. After leaving Tawnos and Dominaria after the Sylex blast, Urza set out to find Phyrexia and destroy it. There were many life forms created on the plane of Phyrexia which served various roles as Yawgmoth, the plane's god, saw fit. One class of these life forms were known as Newts, which were to act as Phyrexian-controlled sleeper agents on Dominaria who would gather information undetected to report back to Phyrexia. In fact, the sleeper agent themselves would generally be unaware that they were not really human. Xantcha was one of these Newts. However, she had one fatal flaw compared to the other Newts, an ability to think as an individual. This characteristic caused her to begin rebelling against Phyrexia, which became a death sentence for her. While being attacked by Phyrexian creatures on another plane, Urza came upon the scene and rescued the human-like Xantcha. In return, she revealed her true identity and explained how to get to Phyrexia. With Xantcha's guidance, Urza piloted a dragon engine into Phyrexia and was able to penetrate the first 4 of the 9 concentric spheres that made up the plane. He was not expecting a strong resistance and quickly found himself overwhelmed and under attack. Meanwhile, Xantcha retreated to her origins to retrieve her life matrix, also called a Heartstone, to try to keep control over her own mind from the Phyrexians. Returning to Urza, the two planeswalked away to Dominaria before they could be completely overwhelmed by the defending realm. In desperate need of healing from the Black Mana Plague, Urza and Xantcha visited Serra's realm built artificially out of white mana. There, Serra healed Urza and Xantcha slowly while also risking her own life to do so. After a grueling 5 years, Urza was finally healed, but this time allowed the Phyrexians to catch up to him. As the Phyrexians invaded Serra's realm, Urza and Xantcha planeswalked back to Dominaria before they could be reached. Though he was physically safe, Urza's obsession with guilt over his brother's corruption began to distract him and cloud his mind from achieving his objective of destroying Phyrexia once and for all. Along with this, some of Yawgmoth's psychic abilities began to bore into Urza's mind. Xantcha realized this and sought out a solution. She came upon a young Dominarian slave by the name of Retep, who had a striking resemblance to Mishra. She dressed him up as Mishra and presented him to Urza. This shocked Urza. Along with Xantcha's coaching, Retep was able to give therapy to Urza and convince him to focus on his mission. Through this process, Retep and Xantcha began developing a romantic connection. Gix, aware of Urza's whereabouts, waited for him in Koilos. There, the two began a battle which would only see one survivor. As Gix began to gain the advantage in the battle, Xantcha and Retep decided that the only way to ensure Urza would win would be to sacrifice themselves. In a last-ditch effort, they startled Gix, who became just distracted enough for Urza to defeat. He was able to get some information out of Gix regarding Phyrexia's beginnings and collected Xantcha's Heartstone. Through Retep's therapy, Urza had finally gotten past the guilt of his brother's death. However, he understood that Phyrexia was on his heels and that he could not stand idle. This caused him to found the Tolarian Academy, which attracted the brightest scientific and magical minds across Dominaria. Urza, knowing that sleeper agents always appear as adults, only recruited children as his new students. One of these students was one of our most popular planeswalkers, Teferi. At the Academy, Urza hatched a new plan for taking down Phyrexia. He hoped to create a time machine that would allow him to look back into ancient history and prevent the series of events that led to the downfall of the Thrawn Empire. He was successful in building his time disruptor, but a new problem was posed. Humans would be killed by using it, and silver appeared to be the key to traveling through the machine. With this discovery, Urza created a golem completely out of silver and gave it Xantcha's Heartstone in order to give it sentience and ability to think and learn. Teferi was given the task of training the golem about the world, but was not mature enough for the task and instead bullied the golem. Joyra, an older student, took the duty of training the golem. It was her who gave him the name Karn, which is a Thrawn word meaning mighty. She continued to spend time with Karn until she was assassinated by a Phyrexian Newt. With Jorah's death, Urza saw an immediate use for his time machine. He and Karn were successful in restoring her life, but a major malfunction occurred and caused the machine to explode, which destroyed the Tolarian Academy and many of its inhabitants, as well as creating temporal rifts across the plane. Causing another landscape-devastating explosion, Urza began to be guilt-ridden again. He and Karn eventually returned and rebuilt the Academy. There, they found that they could use the temporal rifts to their advantage and quickly got back to work on their plan to defeat Yawgmoth and destroy Phyrexia. That's it for this episode of MTG Vintage Flashback. I hope you enjoyed yourself. If you did, please remember to hit the like button down below. Be sure to subscribe and turn notifications on so you know when our new videos come out. Until next time, thanks for watching.